Hi, I'm Dr. Jamil Sayed, and on this podcast, we're going to talk about some deep stuff. I'm here to tell you that you're amazing, and often, the only person who can't see that is you. No matter who you are, what you do, or where you're from, there's greatness in you. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Jamil Sayed, and welcome to the Transformation Starts Today podcast, where I interview leaders, champions, and high performers from all walks of life as they share their story, the lessons they've learned along the way, and empowering perspectives to help you create an extraordinary life without regret, starting today. Today we have with us Tabitha MacDonald. Tabitha MacDonald is an intuitive coach, body worker, and healer who helps people break free from old patterns and step into the life they were meant to live. As the founder of Soma Rising, she guides purpose-driven individuals to heal emotional wounds, rewire limiting beliefs, and align with their truest, most powerful self. Tabitha's work blends science and spirituality to help her clients create lasting transformation in their health, relationships, wealth, and purpose. Through a unique mix of emotional healing, subconscious reprogramming, and intuitive wisdom, she empowers people to live, love, and lead from their highest potential. She believes that when one person fully aligns with who they are, it creates a ripple effect that uplifts the world. And she's here to spark that ripple one breakthrough at a time. Tabitha, such a privilege and an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It was so nice hearing your voice. I was just thinking back to when we met and at trainers training, and I was like, oh, I miss hearing your voice every morning leading us in our little group. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like when we met, for our listeners, we got to do this beautiful in-depth training that the whole thing is 3 weeks long. I was only able to attend the first week of it this time around, but we got to spend, the whole day together from sundown pretty much to going to bed.
Oh
And
my gosh,
the
that was
sun up
intense.
to going
Yeah.
to bed, yeah. But it was just so much fun, and I got to know you at a beautiful level as well as the work that you do. And I have a bunch of questions for you as it relates to that and would love to just dive right in, help our audience better understand who's on the podcast. And so I find that every healer or coach, they have a defining moment where their entire life pivots. It's a moment where a single experience or realization cracks us open and sets us on our path. What was that for you?
Oh my God, I've had so many. I don't even know how many. Oh my gosh, I've had so many. I feel like I get cracked open on a weekly basis. So I think that's there's quite a few, but there's one in particular that I can think of that set me on the path of opening my business. And I was going through a really hard divorce. My husband was drinking. He lost his battle with alcoholism. And he we had little kids and I was terrified. And he was the primary provider at the time. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And I tried everything. Like we even went to church and we weren't church people. I was like, we'll do anything to save you and like get you out of this addiction. And nothing worked. And I was horrified because I did not want to have a divorce. I did not want to, you know, um, I didn't want to break apart my family. It was hard. And I remember I was visiting my dad and I had just finished massage school in the United States because I trained in England. And I was standing on the side of a lake and I knew I had two choices. I could either come home and start Soma or I could stay there in Bellingham and go back into like corporate or government work or nonprofit work. And I threw my hands up in the air and I said, God, whoever's up there, I don't know, but like, I don't know what to do. I'm so lost. And I kid you not, my phone rang at that very moment, and it was my first massage client. And I got two other phone calls that day asking for bodywork in Oregon. And I was like, okay, answer's clear. I guess we're just throwing it all to the wind and trusting. And I did, and I just followed my intuition and I didn't know it was intuition at the time, because I didn't consider myself an intuitive. But I just kept following it, and it was just this like vision of creating a space for massage therapists to grow a business and to help people heal fast, and for single moms to learn how to support themselves and also be there for their kids. So it was kind of a simple, like, the driving mission was like, I want my kids to be able to do all the things other kids get to do. And I'll work my butt off until like I want to make sure they're not left behind because their dad, lost his battle with addiction. So that was one of those defining moments. I've had many since then that redirected me away from that vision and like to a bigger vision that I find more terrifying. But like, I mean, that's like one of them. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And a few things came up there that I think could be really, really important for our listeners to hear again. So this idea that through this experience in your relationship, like through challenge, you were set on the path that you are now. And
Yeah.
so many people, this applies to all human beings, and it's kind of a universal thing. In general, makes sense evolutionarily. We do what we can to avoid discomfort. We do what we can to avoid pain. We do what we can to not die. And
Yeah.
we live in a world now where most people, in the Western world at least, we don't have a physical death imminent upon us in terms of a danger in our immediate environment. It's more of a mental, emotional perception of danger that our physical body evolutionarily is responding to it as if it was a physical death. And so we do what we can to avoid the hard stuff, to avoid the discomfort. But there's also something to be said about through discomfort, you're like forged by the fire and you become stronger, more competent, more capable. You're able to handle more. And so, for anyone listening who's currently in some challenging experience, and I use this metaphor of the ego versus the spirit. And it's like the ego has the horse blinders that just sees what's right in front of it. So it looks right in front of it and it goes, "This is horrible. I don't like this. Why is this happening? This shouldn't be this way. Why me?" But the spirit has the blinders removed, 30,000-foot view, sees the whole thing at once. And it says some variation of keep going, it's all going to make sense. Like trust the process. There's something here for you.
100%.
And if we can,
Yeah.
from that space of being, say, okay, there's a Steve Jobs commencement speech where I brought this up on the podcast probably a handful of times. And he says, there's a quote, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only do it looking backwards. And so going forward, you have to have faith in something, whether it's like God or whether it's yourself or whether it's something. But you have to have faith that just like the dots have connected in the past, where looking back, it goes, oh, that makes sense. A connected to B, went to C, D, E, and now here I am at F. And I see that there's aspects of F that I really like. And I
Hmm.
wouldn't have had this if I didn't go through A through E. But going forward is
Yeah.
not any different. So here we are at F, and we're like condemning F. But
I know.
our
Yeah.
dream is at like S, and we can't get there without going through F. But we don't see it in that way. And so if we can zoom out and say, you know what? What if this challenging experience that I'm going through is setting me up for whatever it is that I'm really wanting? And I might not even consciously want it. It's what my spirit's here to do. Something you and I alluded to before the conversation recording started.
Oh, 100%. Like, because that one I was on board with. And then when the second shift happened in 2021, and I saw a vision of a much bigger dream that my soul had, that one freaked me out. I was not on board. I was like, I don't want to be famous. I certainly don't want to be in the public eye, and I do not want to do any of that. Like, and that journey's been like 4 years of becoming kind of this push-pull with my comfort, right? And then my higher self going, I did not come here to hide in a massage room for the rest of my life. And then I'm like, well, why can't I just stay in the massage room and help babies heal? Like, what? That sounds like a very lovely way to live my life. And my higher self was like, because I didn't do that. And so you're right. It's funny because once you kind of master that first level, then your soul goes, great, you became who I needed you to be. Now we're going to level up and go a little bit bigger. And then your ego's like, no, 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 I just got comfortable in this place. Like, I don't want to go there.
Yeah,
It's not this, I would say the midlife level up is the hardest one because everything we built is like almost falls apart. And some people call it a midlife crisis. I'm like, no, it's like your midlife awakening. And I'll be 50 in a couple of months. And I'm like, no, I think this, well, I see this with a lot of my 50-year-old clients. They're getting this like message that there's something wrong with them, like they're like menopausal or they're having a midlife crisis or like all of these things. And I'm like, no, that is your spirit coming through and saying it's time to level up. And it's like the emotional dysregulation is maybe it's not all hormones, maybe it's your baggage needing to be released so you can become the leader in the world instead of the follower. And I say that with confidence. It has not been a fun or easy journey because you're right. It's like it's preparing you to manage your nervous system, to manage your emotional state, and to trust at a level. It's like taking the little tiny molehill and then taking it and turning it into a giant cliff and saying, "Jump off. It's okay. We got you." And I think that jump is more terrifying than the first one. So like that's my opinion. But it's also great because there's always heroes, mentors, and people that come along the way to like make sure that you know you're still on the right path.
Yeah, you what you just shared reminded me of a quote. I forgot who said it. The name's kind of coming to me, but it'll if it shows up, I'll say it out loud. I'll paraphrase it. And the guy says he's speaking to a group of people. Come to the cliff, he said, and they said, "We're afraid." Come to the cliff, he said. They said, "We're afraid." Come to the cliff, he said. They came. He pushed them. They flew.
Oh, I love it.
And so it's like,
I'm
life is saying, come to the cliff. And you go, I'm afraid. And it says, come to the cliff. And it's like, I'm familiar. I'm used to this stuff. Like, this life's going pretty well right now. I don't want to rock the boat. And then life goes, come on, trust me. And you walk over to the cliff and life pushes you, which is exactly what you were afraid of what would happen. But then you
Yep.
fly and now you're higher than the cliff was before. And now you have wings. And it's like everybody wants wings, but they don't want to get pushed.
Right. It's so true. And it's scary. Like, and it's a scary experience because you have to learn to live in the void. Because
Yeah.
the universe will come in and like take away things like your binky, like like it's a baby metaphor or your blankie. And then you're like kind of like I don't know, have you ever seen that show Naked and Afraid? I look at it like you're on Naked and Afraid and you're standing out in the wild and you're like, where am I gonna get food? And then it just
Well,
shows up. And you get to the other end, a completely different human being with a sense of strength inside of you that I don't think you would get otherwise.
yeah.
So you do have to go through. I have this one journey I recorded in my goddess group, and it's getting into the warrior arena of light. And I did it with this beautiful goddess, Green Tara, and she's all about like getting rid of your fears and turning them into your superpowers. And when I listen to it, I always cry because I think about that quote about people get into the arena and they get bloodied and battered, and then the others are just in the stands. And it's like, are you going to be the person in the arena or are you going to be the person in the stands?
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be in the arena, but I also want to be in the stands. Like, can I have a break?
Using that metaphor, you've got the arena and you've got the stands. The person in the arena the person in the stands often has a lot of opinions about the people in the arena and how they should be doing it and where they're falling short, but they're not doing any of the work to get into the arena. So they're watching life, but they're not necessarily experiencing it. And then there's the people in the arena who are going through whatever process needs to be done from a training perspective to prepare themselves to be in the arena, and they've gone through the hardship and the metaphorical and literal blood, sweat, and tears, and there they are in that arena, metaphorically fighting, literally fighting, whatever it is, and they're trying to step into this new world. They're building something, and there's going to be the criticisms, there's going to be the haters, there's going to be all that. But this leads to something that you said earlier, where there you were in Europe, and you were like, what's next? And then you were at this fork in the road, and you decided to go to the US. And I wrote two choices: aligned versus familiar. And the
Mhm.
idea that aligned is this idea of like the hero's journey. And in the hero's journey, this call to adventure, which sometimes feels really exciting, but there's often fear with that too, because it's not
Yeah.
familiar. So it's bigger than you've played before. It's outside of your comfort zone, your zone of familiarity. And as a result of that, there's going to be hesitation. There's going to be fear. There's going to be, what if I'm not able to handle it? What if I die? What if I whatever? But the thing is, when it's aligned, I remember I was speaking with this intuitive gentleman years ago, and I asked him the question. I felt something really strongly, and I was questioning, how do I know this is intuition versus wishful thinking? And,
Hmm.
and he said to me some variation of, you know, it's intuition because it feels expansive, it feels calm. There's just like a knowing to it, versus if it's like a little bit hectic or anxious, or there's a bit of fear, you know, it's more of a egoic kind of projection onto it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, all that to be said, that you felt this pull and you were
Well, I
open.
want to add to that for a second
Please.
because sometimes when the dream is bigger than you, there should be some fear.
Hmm.
And usually our soul's dream is bigger than us.
Yeah.
And my soul's dream does not bring me a state of calm and peace. I have to get into congruence every day to get there. Because I'm like, that's bigger than I thought I was gonna do. And she's like, I know, it's cool. We'll just follow the way. So
Right.
I will say that our soul's dreams are bigger and it does come with some fear. Because
Yes.
like the ego is like, I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And so I love that. Yeah, it does feel more peaceful and like intuition comes in through the state in the middle where there's no emotion.
Yeah.
And but the dream might come in with excitement and it might come in with a little bit of terrifying, like, oh, I can't do that. So
Yeah.
it's both. Like it's really
Yeah.
that's where you like when the dream gets bigger, you really have to get into heart coherence and be like, are we sure this is what we're gonna do?
Yeah, I love the way you just put that, because it's like the intuition comes in that middle space without the emotion. There's that knowing, there's that calmness, that's the way. But then the dream, the way you worded it, like the dream, let's say in my paradigm, that's the interpretation of the intuition, which then gets filtered through the baggage, which is now, can I do that? Am I worthy? Like, oh my, why me? Like, I got something good going on here. Like, why do I got to do that? And but again, often that intuition will keep knocking on that door. So that calm knowing keeps coming through until you answer the call. And maybe it's been coming through for years. Maybe you've been ignoring it. And at some point, though, when you listen, doesn't mean no pain. It doesn't mean it all goes like beautifully off the get-go from an egoic perspective. But it's like that idea that I didn't say it'd be easy, but it'd be worth it. You know, some variation like that. There's an old.
Yeah.
And so, with that in mind, I just, the two choices. You can make the aligned choice, you can make the familiar choice. If you make the familiar choice, it's almost as if it's a slow, moment by moment death, because you're not
Mhm.
living the life you came here to live. You're not doing the thing that you do feel at a deep level is right for you. You're doing what's comfortable, familiar, and there's that old expression, most people prefer known hells to unknown heavens. And so because it's familiar, you're used to it and you don't like it. But because it's familiar, you can anticipate to some degree. So you go, I don't like this, but at least I know what I've got. Versus over there, that could be amazing, but what if all these things so you don't ever choose it?
I always say, what if they got the wrong person? I think they picked the wrong person. Maybe like my radar was off and they were like, hey, we think you can do this. And like my ego's like, I think maybe they got it wrong. That's the, and I always like, I have these like beautiful conversations with God and like source or creator, whatever you call it. And I remember I was sitting in a church one day and it wasn't that long ago. It was in April and I was really resisting my higher calling. And it was like the Thursday before, this is how miracles manifest in your life, by the way. It was the Thursday before Easter, and my friend and I were hiking on this beautiful spiritual trail. And I was like, "Oh, I want to go introduce you to Mother Mary. She's like the nurturer. She's amazing. She like heals our wounds and like guides us. And I don't look at them in like a religious context. I look at them as mentors and teachers. So I don't look at them in the realm of like this is has to be in any kind of religion. And I was like, my feet got really muddy on the trail. And as we're walking down, I was like, I really could use someone to wash my feet. We walk into the chapel, and this lady walks up and says, would you like to have your feet washed? And I was like, well, that was fast. And then like I'm like, what's the catch? She she was like, well, we're doing this service, and it's part of the Last Supper where, Jesus washed the disciples' feet as a way of being humbled and like honoring them. And my friend was Catholic, raised Catholic, and I was like, I guess we'll stay. Like, I don't really know anything about Catholicism. And so we stayed, and when he brought us up to wash our feet, it was the most tender thing I've ever experienced. And he washed our feet in this beautiful thing, and then he kissed them. And I've had so many surgeries on my feet. They're like coated with scars, and it's one of the things that had a lot of trauma for me. And I just kind of cried, and I was like, that was the sweetest thing. And then when I sat back down, I just heard God, and I started writing because I do a lot of channel writing. And he said, I know you've been through a lot. I need you to do what I asked you to come here to do. Please. He goes, I was like, is everyone here talking to you like this? And he was like, no, most people think they have to go through the guides up front, but like, I'm going to talk to you straight right now. I need you to do what I asked you to come here to do. And I know you're scared, and I'm just going to ask you to keep following me. And he goes, look at these men in the front of the room. They're dressed in robes, and they don't care about wealth. They don't care about money. They care about service and devotion. He goes, you can learn from them, and you can also have money, and you can also have wealth, but you could learn from their devotion. And that's why I brought you here. And I was like, kind of like crying, and I'm looking around like, I don't know if anyone else is having this experience. But it was so, and when I wrote it, I felt like, oh, what I'm really afraid of is leadership. Like, and I really had to start working through that. But it's just to like talk about like kind of like the magic that unfolds when you go into the void, and how like when you are open to those synchronicities and you understand what they mean, like the difference between fear and intuition, and letting source lead the way, whatever that means to you, it is you have beautiful moments like that that create a resonance within you of like, okay, I was meant for something where I have to trust someone else before I can trust myself, and that's okay. There's an invisible guide telling me where to go, and I just need to follow the path.
I love
But
that.
yeah.
And I remember at the training that we met that you referenced in the beginning, you just mentioned working on leadership. And I can attest to the fact that you're on the path and you are doing beautiful things in that respect. And I remember also when we met, I got to experience your incredible massage skills, intuitive skills firsthand. And you talked about listening to the body, realizing what the body is saying, and asking for it. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is something I am so passionate about teaching people. Your body is one of the biggest intuitive communicators to you, but we've poisoned them, and they give us the wrong information. And I think that people are very disempowered when it comes to their health, and they're extremely manipulated, and there's a lot of companies that make a lot of money on keeping people in disease. And I think that the things that block people from understanding their body are the things that block people from listening to their higher self and their intuition. And it to me, like my bigger purpose is helping people listen to the intuitive genius that is their body, and to love their bodies, because a lot of trauma survivors, and I'll say this statistic, and it might be outdated, but like I think 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men have endured some kind of sexual trauma in their life. And that blocks the intuitive knowledge of the body, because now the body is registered as unsafe, and they can't hear it because they're at war with their body. Like their body isn't them. They're at war with it. And you can see it around I was at Costco yesterday, and I was like, look at all of these older people just giving in like to disease, like just the amount of disease and you know, as a medical practitioner, like you see disease walking around all of the time. I don't know. I see pain and disease, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so pervasive. And I was, why am I saying this? Okay, well, I was working with a client the other day, and I work with a lot of people who are over 70, and they don't hydrate. And I don't mean just drink water, I mean hydrate their cells. And I kept telling her, I'm like, I'm telling you right now, the problem is hydration. So I need you to get on a hydration issue like immediately. Here's the hydration thing. I even created a habit installation tool so that you can learn how to hydrate naturally and it won't bother you. And then the next time she came in, she goes, I can't believe how much better I feel. And I said, what did you change? And she said, I did your hydration protocol. And I said, oh, and what happened? And she goes, that mental fog I was having, it's gone. And the pain I was having, it's gone. And the depression I was in, it's gone. And I feel a little bit more excited about living. And Thank you. And I was like, yeah, that's all it takes. It was that simple. But like as long as companies like make a profit off of you not doing the simple things, it's going to be really hard to get those answers. And so the body will speak to you when you listen to it. And the pain in your body, like in your hip or like um in your like gut or your foot, whatever it is usually there because, like, it had to go through the three upper layers before it could get into the physical body. So there's the spiritual side of pain, there's the mental side of pain. We now have research to prove that pain gets into a habit loop in the brain and it doesn't know how to escape it. So things like NLP and superconscious recode break the habit loop. And that's what I've started, like the app I've started developing is how do we break the habit loop that pain blocks intuition, because pain will block intuition. And then the brain also gets addicted to the pain. So then we have to treat the pain addiction because now the brain, there's a whole study out. It's a great book. And then I like look at like the emotional pain, like where do you feel unsupported? How are you not supporting yourself? And then lastly, it's like the structure stuff. Now let's look at like, is it that your right shoulder is too far forward and that's why your left foot hurts? Like now we have to look at the structural alignment and make sure the body, mind, and the soul and the emotions are all aligned for people to feel better. And when we do that from that perspective, taking that holistic approach, people move out of pain fast, like so fast. It's amazing. But you do have to treat all the levels because if you're not, then people are just trapped in this prison that they call their body. And we want them to be free. Like, I mean, I've lost now 122 pounds. I used to have ulcerative proctitis, which was horrible. The doctors told me it was unhealable and that I needed to pay $1,200 a month in order to pay for this medication that half worked. I couldn't even go for a walk without needing to be near a bathroom. Wait, TMI. It's gone. It healed in 3 months once I started doing natural protocols. And I'm not, I love Western medicine. I love alternative stuff. I think they have a place together. But I just have seen the power of my own transformations. I had plantar fasciitis no one could help me with. That's gone. I had chronic low back pain where my back used to go out every couple of weeks. It doesn't do that anymore. I used to have all kinds of health problems that I can't even begin to describe, and they're gone because I listened to the intuition of my body and my higher self to heal things that most people don't think are healable. Plus, I look 10 years younger today than I did when I was about to turn 40. And that's with no filters, right? So I'm like, it works. I have found the fountain of youth is what I have found. So I'm like, that's my passion. Like talking about the mind-body connection is something that I think more people need to understand. And that also, like, it's all of it. It's not one piece, it's all of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
With that client of yours, just going through all these symptoms, and for everyone listening, just really tune into this. The thing that was missing in this case was hydration. And so there are certain fundamental pillars of health. There are certain foundational pieces. They're basics, but people often they equate the word basic with like rudimentary versus basic with foundational. And the thing is, if your body is out of balance, taking a medication that is not bringing it back into balance, it's just numbing a symptom, is never going to be a long-term strategy that's going to help you. But if it's out of balance and then you go back into balance, whatever symptoms which are saying, hey, you're out of balance, will go away. And the thing is, we've both seen that over and over and over again, both in our own life and people we've worked with. And so just wonderful. I love that you're focusing on those things with
Oh,
people.
migraines are another one. Like that one just gets me every time. I'm like, you have an inner child that's literally erupting inside of your brain. We have to treat that and the trigger points and the jaw and the other stuff. But we've also got to heal like the anger that's so repressed inside of you that it's exploding inside of your mind. I'm like, we have to, that they all have to be treated for you to feel better. But there's people like, I don't know if you've experienced this. A lot of the time they're so scared to go on that journey. And I'm like, I made it easy. I took all of the tools and I made it easy for you. So that I went through hell so you could experience a nice, easier journey. So like I found them all. but are the ones that worked for me. So, I mean, you're right. Yeah, it's hard because you're working against an old system that profits off of people being sick. I'm gonna keep saying that. And then people who don't want to trust, who don't want to step off the cliff so they can fly, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, well, in your sharing, it brought something up for me. If you have a business, or if you have a car, or if you have a home or something, and over time, because you're just busy with your attention and focus on other things, you allow disarray to occur, where the home begins to get, you know, dirty. It begins to get really dusty. It get like the air gets kind of like, thick because the windows are all closed all the time. Let's say your car, it's not never getting any maintenance, whatever it might be. And over time, it's going to start to break down in one way or another. And when you see it in that way, it's not surprising. It's just cause and effect. And you go, oh yeah, of course that's happening because it hasn't been maintained in the way that it needs to be to keep the function optimal. But when you see the body physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually in the exact same way, where are you
Mhm.
getting so caught up in the external, all the things that you think have to get done and all that kind of stuff, that you are neglecting the internal? And when you neglect the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, then it turns into a lot of suppression. It turns into a lot of foundational pieces getting ignored. I don't have time for that, whatever it might be. And over time, it's not always apparent right in the moment. It might be a couple decades, but things start to break down. And the symptoms aren't the problem. The symptoms are the signal or the signpost saying, pay attention. And when we
Yeah.
realize that, it's like, oh, what if I just have a misunderstanding on how this all works? And so, with that in mind, there's a question I have for you. What is one message that you feel the human body is constantly trying to communicate to us that we often ignore?
Hydrate, for God's sake, just hydrate. I'm running a wellness program right now as a like beta because I'm like testing out all the different things that I've been learning over the years and like running it through a test group right now to see how they respond. Half the time I'll say, nope, your body, because I can hear other people's bodies, like other people, I don't know, I can hear them. Like I have to turn that gift off sometimes because they're loud. So I'll be like, no, just hydrate. And they're like, yeah, I know I need to get to the gym. I need to go and do yoga more and I need to do this. And I'm like, literally, I just told you what to do and you're not listening. Why do you want to skip the one thing that I'm telling you to do that will change your life?
It's like when people go, it can't be that easy.
Yeah. They're like, it can't be that easy. And I'm getting people going, all I did was start hydrating and I've dropped 3 pounds. This is the first time I've lost weight in um 15 years. And
Mm,
I'm like, yeah, it does there's more to it, right? There's more to it. But also, like you go to the gym on a dehydrated body, your body can't respond. It's going to get injured. You try to like sit down and do a lot of mental work all day long without proper hydration, you're going to drain all of your resources. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to go into burnout. Like, if I could, like, most of the time when I'm working with people, I'm like, the two things we need to get you started on is hydration and breath work. Your
yeah,
brain cannot survive without that.
yeah,
And it will deplete the rest of your body of resources if you don't do those two things.
yeah.
And I get in arguments with people about this all of the time, and I'm 90% of the time right. And I'm like, if I could just leave the world with one thing, it would be just hydrate. And I'm not talking about guzzling water. I mean, go on a hydration process where you're like actually like using electrolytes properly and like allowing your tissue to absorb the water that you're drinking. I mean, I learned this the hard way because I used to drink a bunch of water and I peed all the time and I thought I was great golden. And then I think I just went on a tangent because this is my most like frustrating thing when I'm like running a group and I'm like, no, intuition's saying just hydrate, just hydrate. Nope, stop it. And like literally their ego makes it so complicated. And I'm like, nope, but I'm like directly in tune with your body right now. And it's screaming, please hydrate me and stop abusing me. Like that's all I want. I'm like, so I'm not giving you any more instructions until you get that one habit installed. Like nothing else is coming through until you get that one habit changed. So,
Now you mentioned just there, like, I'm tuning into your body, I'm listening to your body. You mentioned earlier, like hearing kind of what the body is asking for. When you're working with someone, what's really happening energetically that you find when someone is holding on to pain or limiting beliefs?
oh, it can be so different for each person. I find that there's a lot of family entanglements where they don't want to leave the family structure. Like, they might be the only person to go for health. And if their family doesn't have health, then they don't want to leave the structure of the way the family is.
Mm,
Or they picked up a lot of, um, here was the reason I got into the mind part of the body because I was almost at a point of healing this one lady. Like we were like working and back then I did not believe in energy work. I didn't even allow it in my office. I was like, nope, we're a structural alignment clinic. We do pain, we do trigger points, we do not work with any of that woo-woo stuff. Like that was me before. So God has a sense of humor. So there we are, like I'm working with this lady and we're almost there, like where she has no pain. And she stops coming in and then she comes back in a couple of months later with more pain than she had before. And I realized this was not a body work issue. This was an identity issue. Her
mm,
identity did not understand what health was. Like, and she benefited, and I don't mean benefited consciously. When I say this, this is an unconscious benefit because there's always an unconscious gain for staying in disease. And it for her, she didn't have to go live her dreams. She got to let her husband took care of her and she didn't have to get out of her house. She got to just stay home
mm,
and get taken care of. And I see this with people who are on, who have a financial motivation or emotional motivation or some kind of motivation to stay in disease. Like, so we have to treat that at the same time because their identity has to want to be healthy. Like, you can do all the work you want on someone. If they don't want to be healthy, they're going to continue to create disease. So,
I just gave a
that,
presentation yesterday, and there's regarding healing, and there's a Hippocrates quote: "Before you help a person, I think it's like to heal, make sure they're willing to give up what made them sick."
oh my God, I love that. I need to write that down. I love that. I love that.
You know, it's like if think of it like a plant, and so if each of us is a plant, and we're in potted soil, and the soil is toxic, you can do surface level treatments on the leaves and do all that kind of stuff, and there might be some benefit. But because the soil, which is where it's pulling its like nutrients from, is sick, until you solve that, anything else you're doing is not really working. It's not going to help. But if you fix that issue, everything else gets better. So what are the things, rather than focus, you could focus on, there's like a benefit of both. There's focusing on health, doing the right things. And then there's focusing on stop doing the wrong things. And if you do both of those things, obviously it's amazing. But very often, dietary is an example. There's all these different diets, and people try different things, and often people will have a diet work for them really well and they become such an advocate for it. But it often goes into a way of, well, this worked for me, so this is the way, and all the other ways are wrong. Versus often it's what you're not eating that is creating so much of the benefit, not necessarily what you are eating. And again, what you are eating is really useful too. But there's something to be said about there's so much that we're putting into the system that doesn't belong there, that when you stop that, whatever you're replacing it with is likely an improvement.
Right. No, I totally agree. Like my intuition kept guiding me on the path towards what to be eating and how to shift my diet. And it changed. As I lost weight, the answer changed. In the beginning, it was like just track what you're eating and pay attention. Like just do that. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be aware that I was like binge eating every night to dissolve loneliness or like to avoid the discomfort of saying no or
Mm.
things like that. And it was the ignorance to it. And then when I started tracking, I started getting better about not eating at like all of the time. I'd be like, okay, well, now we're going to make some shifts. And then it was like small things. And then I hit a wall, and then it was okay. Now we have to add in intermittent fasting. It was a ladder thing, right? It was a building, and for me also it was strength training because women close to 50. Oh, I forgot who gave me this statistic, so it could be wrong, but like there is a like some research out there saying that women over 70 who fall and break a hip, that's one of the leading causes of death, not because of the fall that breaks the hip, but because of what happens to you after.
Mm.
And so, especially at my age, you have to strength train. You need the muscle in order to sustain a healthy skeleton as you get older. And most people are afraid to go on that journey because they're afraid of injuries. They're afraid of all the things I was, which was like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to be in pain all the time. And I just set up massages once a week because I'm in a massage clinic. So yay me. And I was like, once a week, getting body work. I'm gonna do what I preach. And it helped me like not get injured and pay attention to what my body was saying. And sometimes I'll listen to the coach, and sometimes my body's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, who's right today? Like, and so having that like huge relationship with your body is massive. And I used to have body dysmorphia. I hated my body because I didn't matter how thin I got, I always saw a person who weighed over 300 pounds in the mirror. So having to work through body dysmorphia and like installing the identity of someone who was safe to be seen, safe to be healthy, safe to be fit. Like that was the first part. I had to do the installation first, like build the foundation. And now the habits and the changes are getting easier because I'm adding healthy food. And as I'm adding it, I'm, like leaving out seed oils and things that aren't healthy for you that make you sick. Like you go through a withdrawal from that because it's addictive and it like gets into your cells. Sugar, that also creates addictive strategies. Like, and you don't even know how addicting it is or how many places you are being cued to eat sugar or how much food has that kind of stuff in it. And it clouds your thinking and your judgment and it makes you sick. So, I mean, that's my opinion. But yeah, any diet will work for you if you stick to it. It doesn't matter if you're like calorie counting or carbing, whatever. If it fits your lifestyle, it's going to work.
Yeah, I remember about this was probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I gave myself a gift, which is similar to what you just talked about, where I went from pretty much never doing body work ever to doing one massage a week. Very, very rarely did I miss one, and I did that for about a year and a half.
Oh.
It was amazing. And it was like in the beginning, a little bit uncomfortable because I needed it. And then once they started working through some things, it was relaxing, but I could tell throughout the rest of the week, like physically in my body, I just felt so much better. And often there's a story, which I used to tell, and most people do, some variation of either I don't have time for that, or that's too expensive, or whatever it might be. Now, it doesn't need to be the same cadence. It could be a month, or it could be twice a month or something. But the point being, what are you doing to take care of you? What are you doing to nourish your body? What are you doing to optimize this physical structure, let alone the mental and the emotional? But what are you doing, at least physically? And often we don't ask ourselves questions like that. And if you can just be with those questions, at least for a moment, the answer is either going to come up, I'm not doing anything to do that, or there'll be a few things. And then it's like, okay, how are those working for you? And maybe they're working great, but maybe they're not. And what if there was something else? And you talked
Yeah.
about identity, you talked about beliefs. In your work, what have you found are the most common patterns, beliefs holding people back from just really stepping into the life they'd love to live?
Part-time personalities, 100%.
Mm.
It's the parts of us that were wounded or are so committed to the ego that they just don't understand the voice of the higher self. Because most of us were raised in a society of, fear and chaos and distortion. And like when your higher self comes in, they speak in the language of universal love, which is unconditional love. And unfortunately, not enough people understand what that is. And so when that voice comes in, they feel like a threat because we do not understand unconditional love. And we are constantly kept in scarcity. And I was just reading a book called Scarcity Mind. And it's just ever since COVID, especially, companies have learned how to keep us in a constant state of scarcity and they use it to profit and make money. And it is like an epidemic. And that was what God and I were talking about in the church that day was you need to help people break the scarcity mindset. And they don't even know because it's very comfortable.
Can you
And what?
can you speak to how you enjoy doing that, breaking the scarcity mindset and stepping more into unconditional love?
How do I enjoy doing it?
Yeah, both for yourself and with others, or what do you find most effective?
Awareness is number one. As someone who was raised by a narcissist, scarcity was embedded in every part of my structure. And I did not understand unconditional love when it came in. and it scared me because it felt very unfamiliar.
Mm.
And I hate it when people say go on the self-love journey because I did. And I was like, yeah, but I was raised by a narcissist. So I started narcissisting myself. I was like, oh, good. Self-love is gaslighting. And it is like no boundaries. And self-love is like all of these things that is not true. It's narcissism. And if you're raised by one, unfortunately, your unconscious mind is so hardwired that narcissism is love that you do it to yourself when you kick all the narcissists out of your life. And what they create, basically, narcissists create, is a scarcity pattern in your entire nervous system. So when abundance and when all of that, like, beautiful unconditional love starts flowing in, your nervous system cannot register it as love because it only understands love as scarcity. And it's like you have to earn it, you have to prove it, you have to fight someone else for it. Like the patterns, and it's not honest, right? Because gaslighting makes you completely confuse reality with distortion. So you have to clear the distortions, you have to clear the lies, and then you start seeing the world in a more magical and beautiful place, but it feels like you just moved to a foreign country that you don't understand. And you're like, wait a minute, I want to go back to the gaslighting. I remember I was just saying that yesterday. I was like, I miss the love bombing, like, but it's just different. And so if I could help people shift scarcity, because that is really the impact of narcissism, and I don't think all capitalism is bad, but like capitalism is all scarcity. All sales promotions are scarcity, and they keep you in that constant state. And this book I read about how after COVID, the gambling industry basically, which uses scarcity to keep people addicted, they learned from what they did, and now we have social media, which I think is could be a power of good, keeps people in a constant state of scarcity. It's constant. News keeps people in a constant state of scarcity. And if you understand what the difference between scarcity and abundance is, you're going to be able to align with your highest path of potential for love, for wealth, for health, for your purpose-driven life. You'll understand the frequency of the divine messages that are coming in through you or for you. But as long as you're hardwired for fear and scarcity, there's never going to be enough. It's all anchored in shame. It's just, it's not enough. Nothing's ever enough.
Can you elaborate on what would it look like then to be anchored in abundance?
Oh, I'm still figuring out every day. It's choice. Every morning I'm choosing it. Like every morning I'm training my nervous system because when you have like 49 years in scarcity and like something in your life has to fail in order for the others to survive, which is basically scarcity. Every day I have to make the choice of like, okay, we're aligning into abundance, we're aligning into the frequency of, surrender and divine love. And it's a choice every morning I make. And I do breath work. So I use Soma breath work, which is what I introduced you to. I use my own goddess meditations that I created. I use neurographica to help, it's a art form to help you rewire your unconscious mind through art. It's really powerful. I use channeling. So I just channel from my future self every morning, like quantum leap into the person who already has that life. And I'm like, give me advice, guide me today. And sometimes she'll be like, no, yeah, today was a hard day. Yep, I remember having to learn that lesson and to release that person and to like integrate like how to live in a different frequency because it's so unfamiliar to you right now. She goes, but I promise it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it on the other end. And even this morning, I was doing my writing and I was like, what's not fair? I just want to go study cranial sacral therapy and start like a little thing to help babies. I don't mind that. My higher self was like, not what I came here to do. Not, nope, nope, keep going. Call in the goddesses. And I just created all these really fun goddess meditations to help reprogram the unconscious mind so that it's through storytelling. Because, like with narcissism, and narcissistic abuse, it's all storytelling. None of it's true, right? And I'm like, the only way to combat something is with the same tool that put it in there. So I started creating these stories to help rewire the unconscious mind the same way that they were put in, which is through, but like with divine unconditional love. So I have the goddesses take a different journey to activate a different aspect of you that is powerful and magical. So like Iris is like the keeper of magic, and that's the one I did this morning. And she was like, okay, see, someone forgot that they were magical. Let's go ahead and bust some of this out. And then I'll use like Isis, who helps you activate success in alignment with your intuition. And I just each goddess has come to me, and like because I'm also like a medium, they come in and they'll tell me, okay, here's how I want you to help people remember that they have passion, that they have purpose, that they came here for something more. So it's a daily choice to answer your question.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's sometimes I cry about it. Like, I'm like, I don't want to do it today. And I just want to go back. Like, and then I would just feel like that pull. Because I think like right when you're on, like you get the wings and you're flying, but you're still like afraid of dropping. And so it is a constant choice to stay up and to keep going. Like, because especially when you're not surrounded by people who are, you're like flying solo for a little while. And then, the universe sends you a good friend like yourself. And it's like, oh, this beautiful reminder that you're not really alone. You felt that way this morning because there's some scarcity that needs to be recoded out of your unconscious still.
Yeah, it just speaks to the power of community. When you surround yourself with people that not necessarily are doing the exact same thing, but they're playing a similar game, then at that point, you recognize that A, you're not alone. You recognize that there's a lot of people that are just like or similar to you. You recognize that there's like the value in whatever it is that you're doing. But if you feel like you're the only one because the people you surround yourself with are judging your path and they're judging what you're doing, and you feel critiqued and less than and all these kind of things, it's a lot easier to either give up on the path or to hide and play small. Because if you get bigger, you're going to get seen. And if getting seen equals more criticism and critique and all those kind of things, then again, going back to what we started with, that whole innate survival kind of strategy, why would I want to put myself in that situation? But if you realize, I was just at this meditation retreat. I've never been to one, and I went to one about a week ago, week and a half ago, and it was spectacular. And here's 2,000 people in a room, and every one of them, to some degree or another, wants to be there, is into this kind of stuff, and you have these amazing conversations with people, and you might go weeks in your day-to-day life not knowing anybody like that. And so
Oh, my friends.
it's like they all come together and it's a beautiful thing. And so we've spoken a lot about intuition, and something you shared with me is intuition is the path of self-empowerment. Can you speak to that? What you mean by that?
Oh, so I think that a lot of people give their power away to fear, and fear is not intuition. And if you really want to be empowered in your life, integrating with your higher self, which is basically the voice of intuition. So like we think like it doesn't matter what your religious belief is, we all have a higher energetic being that is us, our eternal self, right? And our ego blocks that version of us because maybe we had some pain. Like sometimes I'm like, higher self, I hate you. Like, why did you sign up for this life of suffering? Like, I'm like, I don't trust anyone who would sign that contract. And like, she's like, no, it was all for the good. It was all for the cause. And I was like, really? Because this sounds dumb. Like, and so like half the time I don't trust her because I'm just like, I don't know what you signed up for, but I think I'm done. But so like, how to answer your question? Intuition is alignment with your higher self. It's you and you and you. I'm always here like we're not separate. We're the same thing. Like your physical body is the body I chose. I actually like your body. And I'm like, but you left me with like, and she's like, no, 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 Cheesecake left you with that, not me. And so do not blame me on that. And I'll be like, so like higher self is basically intuition. So like when I'm doing intuition or working with intuition, I'm not in my ego at all. I'm simply talking to the other person's higher self. Like we call it hakulau, right? When you're in hakulau, when we were at trainers trading, you're basically using your higher self to communicate with the other person's higher self, and then just translating the message to the other person. And it's always, like most of the time, it's just a beautiful message of like, you're so loved and you're so supported by the other side, by things that you can't see. You just have to open up to the frequency of love and let it guide you. Like that is the frequency of your higher self. That is the frequency of intuition. It's through that space of love and not false love, like real love is what will guide you there. And when you're at a meditation retreat, you have people that are committed to following the path of love, right? So you're in that frequency because you're all creating it. And that's what we need more of is people just aligning with their higher self. And it can be as easy as as soon as I wake up in the morning, I just say, higher self, I invite you in to my heart and align me in the path of my highest potential and like clear away whatever needs to be cleared. And I surrender, which is hard for a recovering codependent because control was my middle name. So like,
When we were talking about, I brought up community in response to what you shared, and now I brought the retreat. And so it's coming from this space of we often will say something like if we don't go to an event like that, or if we're not involved in, a group in some sense, we can
Mhm.
think, I'm trapped, like I'm stuck in this area and I don't know anybody else. And sometimes why not go first? This idea that either maybe you listen to a podcast or you read a book or you watch a YouTube video or you do go to some type of event and you have a great experience, you learn something, you meet people, great. There's an energetic shift, like an upgrade per se. And then you come back to whatever your familiar environment is. Now, you are no longer that same version of you. You've been shifted, expanded to some degree. Now, you could decide consciously or unconsciously, to fall back into an old way of being. Or you could say, I am now going to take this upgrade, I'm going to take this way of being, this new love state, whatever it might be, and I'm going to start radiating it. I'm going to start sharing it with people. I'm going to be the one who starts the community. I'm going to be the one who influences the people around me to some degree. And that to me is always a beautiful option that everyone can choose. We can choose to be the change, that we want to see. Now, I know
100%.
that in our conversation and the way I know you, you're very intuitive, very connected, very just like kind of honed in on your abilities, your gifts. If you could give everyone listening like a starter exercise, something that they can use to awaken their intuitive senses to be more tapped in, tuned in, turned on to themselves, what would it be?
It would be simply calling in your higher self every morning
Mm.
and saying, show me who I really am. There's also a statement that I use, which is, I am sovereign, I'm divine. I call all my energy back to me now. And like, just imagine yourself putting like a bubble of love around you. One of my favorite meditations that I started with was Vishen Lakhiani's 6 phase meditation because it basically surrounds you in the energy and frequency of love and compassion every morning. And it does create almost this like energetic barrier to negativity. And it is an intention in the morning. Like how you start your day is how it's going to go. Like I start my day with meditation. I don't get up and just start doing stuff. Like I have an hour in the morning that I gift myself where I'm like really focused on like where I'm going and who I'm becoming and removing the things that prevent me from getting there. And that is like a full commitment to myself that I never had before. So if you can commit to yourself, you don't need money. You can go online and find free resources. I use there's a lady, her name's Andrea, and she does mainstream Reiki on YouTube. I play it in my house all of the time to change the frequency of my home. I play it in my healing center all of the time so that the frequency of love is always being pumped through my center so that people feel it and I'm not responsible for generating it all. You can use YouTube as long as you're, careful with channels you're watching. Some of them aren't great. But mainstream Reiki, I love her and she's amazing. She does it for free. It's all free. So wealth is not a barrier here. It's not, and it shouldn't be. There are more free resources now than ever before for people to align with their higher self. And it is simply a free will choice every morning. Higher self, I surrender. Come on in, take over, help me out. Help a mama out here. Like, I'll be like, and sometimes it's a good cry in the shower and a grieving of the way I thought my life was going to go. And also, addressing the fear of where it is going. And it's like, all right. And then I'll ask, like, send me the right people to help me on the way. And sometimes that person's a lesson, and you have to know, is this person a lesson or are they here to help me grow through pain, or are they here to, help me align and see the magic that other people see in me before I can.
Yeah.
So you have to surrender, and it's free will. You have to invite your higher self in every morning.
Yeah,
And that's the cheapest way to do it. There's no cost.
yeah, when you mentioned the meditation and you said every morning I spend an hour, it's a gift that I give myself. And I think
Mhm.
for our listeners, that really stands out to me because I think we often, if I asked everyone listening to look at your calendar, look at your planner, look at whatever it is that you use to keep track of things, if you do, and I were to say, look at everything on your to-do list, look at everything on your, on your papers, on your whiteboards, on your digital stuff. Where are you on your calendar? Where are you on your planner? And someone goes, what do you mean? Where are the activities, the experiences, the whatever that allows you to optimize you? It's time for you to relax, rejuvenate, restore, take care of yourself, whatever that might be. And almost always, we're never on our calendar. Everyone else is on our calendar. And then we end up leaving ourselves out. And it turns into, you know what? I'll meditate, I'll get a massage, I'll do whatever when I have time. And then it turns into, well, the very fact that you're alive means you have time. How are you using that time? And if
Mhm.
you've bought into this story, and it doesn't have to be an hour, even if you had 30 seconds, that's great to take a couple nice breaths. But if you had 5 minutes, if you have a half hour, it's still really useful. And so I often find a teacher of mine at some point, he said, like, do this practice. It takes like 15 minutes. And then he said, if you don't have 15 minutes, you don't have a life. And it's coming from that space of, are you going to, I often tell people, argue for your limitations and you get to keep them, argue for your possibilities and you get to create them.
Yeah, I love that.
Argue
Yeah.
for all the reasons why you don't have time and you can't do it and why it's not going to work and all these kind of things. Of course, you're not going to do it. But if you argue
How
for
much time are
why,
you scrolling? Or how much time are you sitting in line? I listen to my meditations while I'm driving because I made them so that I could be on the go. Like I'll tell all my clients who come in, I'm like, oh no, I made them so you could listen to them at Costco. Yeah, you can do that. Instead of listening to the true crime podcast, you can listen to this and it'll clear away your baggage while you're shopping. Like, so I made it so it fits into your life. You don't have an excuse anymore because there is ways to integrate personal care and development everywhere you go. Like I do breath work while I'm sitting in traffic. I'll do 5 by 5 box breathing because that's also a powerful tool. So you're right. You can do it anywhere. You don't need to have like a fancy meditation room or a meditation retreat. You
yeah,
do it every minute of the day. And it's just a conscious recentering back into center, which is who you are. And then clearing away other people's baggage so that you're not walking around like a giant energy sponge picking up other people's crappy emotions. That's
yeah,
a message that's
a,
out
um,
there.
a simple exercise for everyone who's interested. I recommend, let's say you have this works with paper too, but let's say you have a digital calendar. Create a new one so it's clear of everything. And the first thing you do is you put in all of the things you do to care for yourself. And so maybe as an example, it doesn't need to be elaborate, but I'm just gonna throw some things in there. So let's say you want to meditate for, if you haven't done it before, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So that's like right in the morning, let's say. So you first thing you do, you have a wake time and a sleep time, and you do as best as you can to keep those fairly the same. And then you say, all right, I'm gonna put my meditations in. And I want to exercise in whatever form I like to do that. I want to hike, I want to dance, I want to rock climb, I want to work out, whatever it is in the gym. You put that in the calendar. And then what's next? Maybe it's like my family time. So I'm going to make sure I'm here for dinner. I'm going to make sure I'm here at that event. I'm going to make sure we have time to connect in our relationship over here. Once that's there, then put in your work.
Yep.
And what you realize is you're prioritizing yourself and your family, and then you're putting in the work. And you will find that there's certain things that you'll go, well, I don't have time for this. And then you'll realize that actually wasn't as important as I thought it was. And so it doesn't really matter if I don't do it. Or you find that you'll get creative and you'll find a way to be resourceful and do maybe a couple things at the same time. But ultimately, when you don't have time to do the things that you need to do, need in quotes, but the things that you need to do to get the result that you want, It's because the way your relationship to your calendar, your relationship to your to-do list is keeping you in a prison. But if you clear it all away, rebuild it with the first parts as the foundational pieces, then everything on top of that comes in and you go, oh, I can fit this in a lot easier than I thought I could have.
I love that you said that. That was actually the first intuitive guidance that I got.
Yeah.
Like that's what you just said. And that's exactly what I did. I started clearing away. I just canceled everything. And I was like, if I'm really serious about getting healthy, first thing I'm gonna do is meditate. And I did a 15-minute meditation to start, like not like this whole like luxurious hour in bed with myself, like and a cup of coffee. But I ended up enjoying it so much. Like I will not compromise that. Like I'll set my alarm early so that I can spend time with myself in the morning now and like really like hang out with me and like that's my priority.
Yeah.
And I would change that. But like it was, I first started with like, okay, let's just do this 15-minute meditation in the morning. And like I think a lot of people don't understand what meditation is. It's not always about clearing your mind. I used the Silva method and it's a way of visualizing and directing your mind so that you're in charge of it. It's not a matter of making it empty. I could never empty my mind, but it's a matter of directing your thoughts and being the author of what your thoughts are instead of letting other people's thoughts ruminate around in your brain. And like, yeah, that was the first thing. And then it was like, okay, well, if you're serious about getting fit, you need to schedule out exercise. And I like going to Orange Theory because I like the people there and I like the coach. And he's like, I think he speaks directly from source because he always says exactly the message I need to hear. And I'm like, all right, I hear you. I hear you. And it was that, like, it was consistently going and allowing myself to belong to a community and to be like local and to be like, okay, I can belong somewhere
Yeah.
again. And then it was like the hydration thing. Like I have a tracker. Am I hydrating enough? That's priority. And then then it was like, well, I don't have time to cook. Okay, well, there's this great place called Fit Foods and they cook for you. You can just go pick up meals. And now I meal prep. Like, there's all these things that you can do to put in we have more luxury available to us now than we have ever had, and we are making it more complicated.
Yeah.
We have more time than ever. Like, and we make it, we waste it. We're not spending it on ourselves. We're like allowing other people to take it.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you have to exactly what you said, clear your calendar. Your first priority is you. And I tell this to moms because I'm like, I got a mom in one of my programs, and her son has medical needs, like, and she works full time, and he was born with all these medical conditions. She's on every call. She gets massages. She is taking care of herself through the whole thing, and that's her priority because she knows if she's not taking care of herself that she can't be there to help her baby who needs her to be healthy.
Yeah.
So she prioritizes herself every day. And I'm like, I wish I could get all the moms to come in like you do because you're like an inspiration because you actually get it. You get the importance of putting your life vest on and why your baby needs that or.
Yeah.
So I love what you said. And I'm like, you got to put yourself and you know, not the things you always want to do, because sometimes I just want to, mess around and not like what I'm supposed to do. It's the things that you need to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a distinction
Love that.
between simple and easy. Easy for most people implies effortless,
Yeah.
low effort. Simple can have a lot of effort. It's just not complicated. And
Yeah.
when you think about health is simple, creating a fulfilling, life is simple. Having a day-to-day experience that you enjoy can be simple. It's
Mhm.
just, are you doing whatever the things are that create it? Are you not doing the things that sabotage it? And are you living in an intentional way where you can course correct, keep your fingers on the pulse metaphorically, and say, that's not working for me anymore. That is working for me. The intuition we talked about, it's simple to say, your body, your mind, your spirit is communicating with you. Listen. But we complicate it, and we let the fear come in and we do all these things and we stop it. And so it's not trying to put down anybody's challenges. It's not saying that what somebody's going through is like, it's real, it's valid. But it's saying, what if it could be simple? Playing in that possibility. And then if it was simple, if it were simple, what would I do? How would I respond to this? If I break down health for somebody at a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level, I do it first big picture, and then if they want, I'll get into the details. But when I go big picture, they'll go, that's it? Like that's all I have to do? That's all I have to like prioritize? Like that's it? And it's like, well, if you do all that, you're living in harmony with what I'm calling nature's laws, and your body will be coherent and it'll be balanced and harmonized and everything works out. And if you don't do it, you're in incoherence, disharmony, and you're violating nature's laws, and there's consequences to that. And we're convinced that, like, in an information age, we're all drowning in information. And so, this idea of that, there's an old expression where I think it's like we're full on information and we're starving for wisdom.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so true. I'm like, there is so much false information on the internet, and now with AI, like I'm like, you guys have got to align with your intuition. You have to start listening to your higher self. In a world made of manipulation, you've got to know what truth is.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're going to get sucked into a world that is going to literally feed off of your fear for the rest of your life. And like now is the time to make that choice because as AI gets more advanced, the lies, the manipulation, the ways people are going to be trapped in fear are going to be more creative. I watch videos and I'm like, that's not real because my intuition is super refined, right? And I'm like, it looks so real. How many people thought this is real? And you see the likes, and it's like a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's scary. It is, you've got to listen to your intuition right now is the time more than ever on our planet. And it starts with health, right? Like it starts in the body and taking care of your health.
Hmm.
But I'm like also AI can be your best friend and help a lot. Like I love it, but I have boundaries with it. I know it doesn't experience emotion, right? Like it can mimic it like a narcissist. It can't experience it but it will trick you. I've seen people like falling in love with their AI and stuff, and I'm like, no, 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 it's love bomb, it's narcissist. No, it's love bombing you. Do not leave your husband because ChatGPT told you to. That's terrible. Like that's just like, but so I mean, if you ask me why I think now is the time to listen to what you just said and make it simple, is because our world is about to get a lot more complicated
Yeah.
because AI is getting smarter. And if you're not aligned with your higher self, you're not aligned with your intuition, you're going to be feed for people who want to keep you trapped in fear. You're going to be prey.
So if we,
And I
so
say it in a way that's kind of hard, but
yeah, but as a way of ending on a positive, there's a wrap up that I'd love to bring into this, and then ask you a question.
you just got your SecMed on there, Tabitha. Like, I'm
No, no,
always
that's perfect.
sorry.
The I recommend everyone make it really simple. Get a piece of paper, write, and this could be computer too, but let's just say, write this down. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And then for each one, keep it simple. What could I do in this area to rejuvenate, to nourish, to feed myself? You start with you, and then you can think about other people. Even if you're like a mother with a child with medical challenges, still start with you, because that is going to help you better pour into your child. If you pour into everybody else and then you're empty, it's not going to work. You're going to burn out. And so if you were to say first, well, physically, what could I do? It might start really simple. I'm going to go to bed an hour. I remember a mentor of mine say the research was clear that he looked at the best diet for losing weight and for being healthier is an extra hour of sleep. And so it's like if you play in that idea, well, what if I could go to bed an hour earlier? And then someone's got a story. Well, I can't do that. What if I can go to bed 45 minutes earlier? What if I can go to bed 30 minutes earlier? At some point, you got to say yes to that. It's like, okay, start there. And then you build up that habit. Oh, I don't get tired at that time. Go to bed 15 minutes earlier than you normally do and keep ramping it back 15 minutes every week. You'll go to bed like 3 hours earlier in no time. But it just starts there. And then it might be I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to get some morning sunlight. I'm going to hydrate better. I'm going to start with whatever. Don't try to implement 50 things at once and then maybe get overwhelmed by it and stop. Pick one thing, pick two things, and then start integrating. And when you build up the habit, it's like, on video at least, I've got my hydro flask, my thermos here. Let's imagine that this represents your mind, and you fill it up with this new habit, and now eventually, in the beginning, it's not a habit yet, it's just an activity. And so it's full. There's not a lot of room to add more stuff, but eventually it goes unconscious. It becomes a habit, which is like saying it drains it. Now it's empty and there's room for more. But you've
I love that
integrated.
analogy.
Thank you.
100%.
But now
Yeah,
you
I love that analogy.
so you have the physical side, and then
Mhm.
emotionally, what could you do to better express your emotions, process your emotions, express yourself in conversation with other people that you feel safe around? What could you do to increase that? Mentally, it's like what can you do, using the calendar as an example, that tool, to have a cleaner, let's say, perspective on your world? What could you do to prioritize the life that you want to create? I often ask people, are you living your life or are you living somebody else's version of your life?
Yeah, it's huge.
And when you can check in with yourself and say, okay, at this stage of my life, like sometimes people say, what's the right thing to do? It's not about a right or wrong. It's what is the right thing for you at this stage of your life, given the life that you're wanting to experience, which that answer is going to change moment by moment. But in this
Mhm.
moment, this would be the right thing for you to do. And you already have an idea of what that is, given what Tabitha said, if you tune into your intuition. So physically, emotionally, mentally, and then spiritually, what could you do? For you, it might be go to a certain location. It could be a church, a mosque, a synagogue, an ashram, or something. Or it could be just be in nature. It could be join some type of prayer group. It could be in a book club and you're reading books that you consider more spiritual in nature that you really enjoy. It could be meditation, it could be journaling, it could be anything. But what could you do that's different? When you have the same input, you get the same output. So if you listen to this podcast and you don't change anything, your life's probably going to stay about the same. But if you listen
Yeah.
to this podcast and as a result of it, you say, you know what, I'm going to do this new activity, put it on my calendar, and I'm actually going to commit to it. I'm going to give myself that gift. Fast forward a few days, it might be the first time, but a few days, weeks, months of doing it, and then you say, my life is actually measurably better in some way. Well, now what could be possible now that that's a habit and I do that all the time and I love it, if I added one or two more of those things? And then next thing you know, your schedule gets crowded out with the good stuff. And so now you don't have time to do all the things that are like going to hurt you because you're doing all the things that are doing, they're really serving you. And so with that in mind, if our conversation today was your last opportunity to share the message on your heart and your spirit with the world, what would you want to make sure you left people with?
Oh my gosh. You don't have to be anything different than you are right now. You're already worthy of everything that you dream of. And you're worthy exactly as you are. Just call in your higher self and like let your heart lead the way.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, beautiful. And, prior to us recording, we were talking about some exciting things in your world right now. And so for our listeners who would love to learn more about you, connect with you, work with you, find you, how does that all work?
Oh, yes, that's a good reminder for me to update my socials. I have an Instagram account that is going to be updated better more, but it's Tabitha MacDonald. And then I have a YouTube channel, same. I post like free meditations and like I'll put recodes on there to help people restructure their unconscious programming. So that's on YouTube. I think I'll send you all the links. But I'm also on Facebook. You can visit my website. It's soma-massage.net, and I have a secret podcast that I've been working on that I was telling you about earlier, which is fun. It's called A Girlfriend's Guide to Your Spiritual Awakening. And that's where I talk about all the fun and kind of mystical parts of life. And then I have a main podcast that's a little bit more of mainstream, and that's the Soma Flow podcast. So I have my secret podcast where I just get to unleash, and then I have my more mainstream podcast, which is more mainstream. So
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing it. I'll have links to everything in the show notes. And first of all, for you, Tabitha, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your experience, your wisdom, your light with all of us. For our listeners, thank you for your presence, your attention, your energy, for taking the time in whatever you're doing in your day to be here with us. And if this has resonated with you, if you can please do a few things. Like it, comment, share in whatever way you can. If you like it, comment, it helps the algorithm, more people find it. If you share it, there's one person at least that you know and you say, I think you'd benefit from listening to this. That goes a long way of spreading this work and it helps a lot of people in their own way. And Tabitha, is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Oh, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. I like did not want to go to trainers training and I met some of the most amazing people. And I'm so grateful to call you all my friends and like I appreciate the work that you do, especially, with your just knowledge and wisdom in your heart. You're just a powerful leader. And I just really am grateful to have you as a friend.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way, and I appreciate you immensely, and I receive that fully. And what a beautiful way to wrap up, because it shows what we talked about. I really didn't want to do this thing, but look at all this amazing things that happen after. And what if that's exactly what's going on in your life right now? Like whoever's listening, I really don't want to do this thing, but what if there's a lot of beautiful things on the other side of it, and I'm gonna be so happy I did it in hindsight. That makes it a lot easier to start. And
It
so,
does.
and that goes perfectly with this outro. I named this podcast Transformation Starts Today because I found that most people's favorite day to change their life is tomorrow. And that's why they stay stuck. But you can be different. You can listen to this conversation and then more importantly, apply, apply, and turn the information that we're all full of into wisdom, which is applied information. And when you apply that, you actually get a result in your world and you'll be really happy you did. All my love to you and your family. I look forward to the next time we connect. Take care. Thank you for being with us today. If this conversation served you, it would mean a lot if you left a review and shared this with anyone who may benefit. An extraordinary life without regret is available to you now. Choose it. It's your time.